Elden Ring is an easy game. No, I'm actually joking. It's pretty difficult. But there are more ways to beat it than just quote-unquote getting good. Which is why in this video, I'm going to be beating all of the Remembrance bosses in Elden Ring's DLC without ever dodging an attack. That doesn't just mean no rolling. I'm not going to intentionally do anything to nullify damage on this run. That means no jumping over attacks, no rolling through attacks, no strafing attacks, no blocking attacks. Just face tanking absolutely everything while using the correct gear to carry me through. I'm going to start this challenge off by just using base game gear and no shadow tree fragments, just to demonstrate that this isn't something that you need to be over leveled for, even though it's obviously helpful. I, of course, will explain everything about the build, armor, talismans, buffing routine, etc. But for right now, I just want to show you what it can do before explaining how it works. Jesus fucking Christ. Let that stamina regen. Drink. Oh. I just want the stagger. Come on, give the stagger to me. Please. Please. Thank you. What the Okay, there we go. Regen the stamina. Beautiful. All right, make sure I'm nice and healthy. Okay, endure so that I can safely get the pot off. How is that not a stagger? That one is. Maybe I should be healing. I tanked it? Oh, I didn't get juggled? That's crazy. Oh, can you stop? Thank you. All right. Now it's time to collect some shadow fragments and actually start reaching this build's full potential. There's a total of 50 fragments that can be collected throughout the game with a max shadow level of 20. The beautiful part is it's possible to reach shadow level 14 without needing to fight any bosses. The remaining 6 levels are locked behind various boss fights though. As you can see here, the higher the Scooby snack level, the less damage is received, maxing out at a total damage resistance of 51.3%, or in other words, taking a little less than half damage. Damage negation stacking does get a little bit complicated, but I'll explain it thoroughly a little later in the video. The point for right now is I want to gather as many of these scat fragments as possible to decrease the amount of damage that I take. Once I have enough to get to level 14, it's time to take on Commander Gaius. He's blocking an additional 5 fragments and should definitely be doable with the current gear. Let's go over what that gear is. To start, I'm using the Bull Goat armor, which gives a 38.5% damage negation for physical damage, which is the most relevant damage type that Gaius does, and this is picked up by progressing Patch's questline and invading Tragoth. For the talismans, I'm using the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman for 20% physical negation. This is from a chest in the Haligtree. The Blue Feathered Branch Sword for 50% damage negation when below 20% health. This talisman is the reason why it seems like I get much tankier at the bottom of my health bar, and it drops from the Deathbird in Stormhill. Spelldrake +2 talisman. I know there's an upgrade within the DLC, I just haven't picked it up yet. This talisman is from the catacombs that you go through to get to the consecrated snowfield. And finally, the Old Lord's talisman. This is from a chest in Frumazoula, and this extends the duration of spells by 30%, which will be helpful for all of the buffs that I'm going to be casting. Then in the physic, I have the Opaline Hard tier for 10% damage negation from the Putrid avatar in Dragon Barrow, and the Crimson Burst Crystal Tear for passive healing from the Erd Tree avatar in Weeping Peninsula. Let's talk about the buffs that I'm casting. For this boss, I used Golden Vow Incant for 10% damage negation from Mount Gelmir, Black Flame's Protection for a 35% physical damage negation buff which can be bought from the Twin Maidens after beating Gideon, and the last spell I'll be using is Grail's Roar. When this hits an enemy, it debuffs their damage by 15%. You might be able to guess where you get this one from, but I'll spell it out for you just in case. It's from the Church of Dragon Communion after defeating Grail in Dragon Barrow. Finally, for the weapons, I'm using the Cold Attuned Starfists, just because they're very strong. And importantly, the Endure Ash of War. This ash is a staple in any tanking build because it gives an additional 45% damage negation and, very importantly, a lot of hyper armor. I'll explain what that is and why it's important after you get a chance to see what it does. The Starfist is from Leyndell, and Endure can be purchased from Bernal. The last piece that I'm using here is the Twin Bird Kite Shield. This is very minor, but whenever I have it in my offhand, I get 10% damage negation whenever I'm below 20% health. Again, very minor, but that's the reason why I switch off of the seal after I cast buffs and have the shield in my offhand. This shield can be picked up from the Deathbird just outside of Leyndell. Hopefully, with all that explanation, you can see that the point of the build is to just stack as much damage negation as possible. Let's see how well it works against Gaius. Alright, Endure. Grail's Roar. Ow. Unlucky RNG. Alright, we take the riposte. Probably gonna drink and then endure again. He's really close to a stagger. He might have actually hyper armored that. Okay, let's get the blue back. Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't get staggered, dude, and that's what Endure does. It makes it so that you don't get staggered. Tanking's pretty easy. It also gives you a bunch of damage negation. Beating Gaius gives me access to 5 additional scat fragments, and now it's time to turn my eyes to the next boss that I can get some fragments from. And you guys know how I do these challenge runs. I experiment with as many viable builds as I can to really figure out what's good and what isn't. One of those experiments is the Bonnie Butchering Knife. This is a weapon that does healing on hit, similar to Great Stars or the Butchering Knife from the base game. However, the unique thing about this weapon compared to those is the Ash of War Hone Blade. After this is used, the weapon will heal even more HP on hit, and I wanted to see if this weapon was a viable way to replace the damage that I would be taking without needing to pause to heal. Besides that, the changes to the build are very minimal. I replaced the Spelldrake Talisman with a Hallidrake Talisman for more holy resistance. This is from Mogwyn Palace, and I replaced the armor with the Crucible Tree Set because it has solid physical resistance while also providing extra holy resistance. This set is from Behind Siluria and Deeproot Depths. You may have noticed that with all these buffs, I should have close to, if not over 100% damage negation. Armor set doing around 40%, buffs doing around 60%, Endure doing another 45%. That should be well over 100% damage negation. But no, my life would be easier if that's how the math worked, but it isn't. The reason why it's not over 100% is because Elden Ring uses a multiplicative buffing system instead of additive. The easiest way to think about this is that an additive system applies all at once and a multiplicative system applies one at a time. In an additive system, you could have one buff for 60% and another buff for 40%. They would apply at the same time for a total of 100%. But in a multiplicative system, the first buff would take 60% of the damage, leaving 40% still going through. And then the second buff would only apply to the remaining 40% that's still going through. So that would negate 40% of the 40% for a final damage taken of 24%. And this math is the reason why it's impossible to get a true 100% damage negation. Time to take on Golden Hippo. endure, and then roar so that we don't get interrupted. All right, and now... So I want to use Hone Blade here. That's really what I'm curious in. Okay, so let's heal. Okay, now we one-hand it, and then we endure, and then we press L1 and see how much it heals. I need to be enduring before I take, like, any action. Wait, did that really knock me over? Oh, that was a lot of damage. Yeah, so I don't think Bonnie Butchering Knife is great. This is not doing like any crazy amount of heals. I'm gonna let the stamina regen and then get endure back. Shouldn't be healing there. Endure. I just keep spamming L1. Endure and heal. All right, so this boss is on the easier side, so we're able to get away with it. If you're enjoying this video and learning anything, be sure to subscribe. I post challenge runs like this all the time. The next boss blocking fragments is Jory. He does quite a bit of holy damage, so I'm going to change the build up a little bit by using Lord's Divine Fortification for a massive 60% holy damage negation buff. This is from the Twin Maidens after defeating Gideon. Besides that, I switched out my helmet to the Great Hood. This is very minor, but the Great Hood is the best piece of armor in the entire game for resisting both lightning and holy damage. Of course, it's much worse against every other damage type, so it's very niche. It's received by solving the Sorcerer painting in Mountaintop of the Giants. For the weapon, I'm going to be using the Grafted Blade Greatsword. This weapon is very interesting because the Ash of War provides the exact same effect as Endure while lasting a little longer and boosting your stats. So it's just a better Endure that takes a little more FP and is locked onto only this weapon. Now seems like a good time to explain why I'm only using Lord's Divine Fortification and not using both that and Black Flame's Protection. The answer has to do with buff stacking. The way that it works in this game is that there's a couple of categories of buffs and you can only use one of each category. Lord's Divine Fortification is a body buff and Black Flame's Protection is also a body buff. So I'm not going to be able to get both of their effects at the same time. Beyond that, there's aura buffs. Things like Golden Vow and Commander Standard fit into this category. I am, of course, using Golden Vow here. There's weapon buffs. Crag Blade, Blood Flame Blade, and Greases are examples of weapon buffs. I don't have a weapon buff with this current setup because of the weapon that I'm using. Then there's a couple of other categories like shield buffs. Health regen, stamina regen, fall damage, but for the purposes of this run, they don't really matter. Where things start to get really fun is with uncategorized or unique buffs. If a buff doesn't fall into any of the categories that I listed above, then that means that it infinitely stacks with every other buff in the game. Most of these uncategorized buffs are pretty intuitive, like talisman effects, physic tiers, and special equipment effects, but there's a couple of buffs that are uncategorized that aren't as obvious. Both of Vengeance and Endure are some examples. I hope that explains why I don't stand outside the fog wall and cast literally 20 buffs before entering, since most of them just wouldn't stack with each other. Gonna do Vow, Lord's Divine Fortification, and maybe Greyol's Roar is a waste of time. Let's get in there and see. That looks much better. Yeah, way better. Okay, drink this. Come here. I needed to endure. Where is... Wow, dude, getting this riposte is crazy difficult. Don't stagger. There we go. There we go. Look at that, man. Lord's Divine Fortification going huge. Yeah, that's fine. Can I run past you, please? Thank you. L2? Hello? What the hell happened to my controller? It, like, disconnected for a second. I will walk at you, and you will f***ing die. I'm out of FP, bro. We don't need it. Mesmer is the next target, and believe it or not, he does some fire damage. With that in mind, I'm going to pull out the Fire Prelate set. This armor set has respectable physical negation while having the highest fire resistance in the game. The Halleck Drake Talisman gets replaced with the Flame Drake +3 from the Fort of Reprimand. The damage strategy for this fight is going to be a classic. Great Stars with Wild Strikes. Great Stars is a great hammer that heals 1% HP per hit, does innate bleed buildup, and I attuned it with Frost. It's from a caravan chest in Altus. Wild Strikes is an Ash of War that pretty much just spams fast attack, so there's some obvious synergy between these two. It's on a scarab leading up to Stormvale Castle. You remember when I was talking about hyper armor earlier? Yeah, this build doesn't currently have any hyper armor, and that's a pretty big problem because hyper armor is the player's ability to not stagger when they get hit. This is the second of two key pieces to be able to actually make a tanking build. Of course, damage resistance is required to tank things, but stagger resistance is sometimes forgotten, even though it's just as necessary, if not more so. There's a couple of ways to get hyper armor in this game. Poise is one way, and you're probably the most familiar with that. This is a sort of passive hyper armor that you get from just wearing armor. Heavier armor has more poise, which means you stagger less. Unfortunately for runs like this, poise alone is not going to cut it. The second method is using buffs like Endure or Oath of Vengeance that give you a temporary hyper armor effect. And the final way is attack animations. Some attack animations like Lion's Claw, for example, have a ton of hyper armor, and it's almost impossible to get knocked out of these animations once you're in them. For this fight, since the armor won't give enough poise and I've already decided on what attack animation I'll be doing, I have to get my hyper armor from a buff. That's where the Iron Jar Aromatic comes in. This is a body buff that gives 40% physical damage negation and tier 4 hardness. I bet Miyazaki was looking at Renala's feet when he came up with this item description. Tier 4 hardness essentially just means a bunch of hyper armor, making this the perfect buff to use when I can't use Endure or get my hyper armor from weapon attack animations. The crafting recipe for this item is found in the Ariza side tomb, and one final thing that I've included in this build for this fight is the Holy Ground Ash of War. It's very niche because I have to stay inside the zone that it leaves on the ground to get its effects, but if I can do that, it's a pretty massive 20% damage negation to all damage, and it passively heals 17 HP per second. All right, so we start with the Physic. Then we go Vow. Iron Jar Aromatic. Okay, we're gonna drink the blue, I think. Go Holy Ground. Cast the Roar so that it actually hits him. He's not stepping in the holy ground. And I have got some fucking resistance, though, I tell you, buddy. I thought that was going to be the healing. Yeah, dude. Seems good to me. I imagine many of you have already commented asking why I'm not using the Blasphemous Blade. And the reason is because even though it's very good, it's not the strongest thing for this run. For those of you that don't know, it has an Ash of War that does a pretty colossal amount of healing. The main issue, however, is that it doesn't really have hyper armor, and Iron Jar Aromatic does its best to give enough, but it's still not as much as I can get out of Endure or other weapons attacks. I also just didn't want to use the same weapon for the entire run because I thought that was a little boring. With all that said, I'm going to be using Blasphemous Blade on the next boss, Ramana. The armor set is a little bit of a mess using Gaius' set for slash resistance and the Great Jar because this armor piece is kinda nasty. It's tied for the highest resistance in lightning, pierce, slash, and physical, so you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of Great Jar use on this run. Beyond that, I replaced the Elemental Resist Talisman with the new Verdigris Discus. This talisman's pretty cool. When you have heavy load, it's 10% extra damage negation, and when you're overloaded, it's 20% extra damage negation. Pretty much the perfect talisman for this run since I always plan on being at least heavy load. Let's see how this goes. Physic. Vow. And on top of that, Grail's Roar debuffs her damage by 15%. And on top of that, I can even lay Holy Ground down. Oh my dear God. Now the issue here is hyper armor. It most certainly is not healing. But hyper armor is definitely an issue. Oh dear God. Yeah, go. Just fucking stand in it, dude. Drink the blue? Eventually? All right, some of the buffs probably wore off. Cast the Holy Ground. Switch on over to this. Cast Grail's Roar. All right, that applies. Switch over to this. No hyper armor there. Okay, we gotta drink the blue. Why are you walking over there, dude? Okay, reapply the Iron Jar. Just don't hit me. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, that's the face. That's the face of a true man right there. Quick detour, I want to test the new Cerulean Sapping Cracked here. This regenerates FP on hit, and I'm going to be using the Ancient Dragon Man as my test dummy since he's the last boss that is blocking Skadoodles. This fight should be easy no matter what. I'm mostly just curious how viable this Sapping Cracked here is looking. Somehow it misses, who knows, not me. Alright, two hand. And then just Lion's Claw. Oh boy. How much FP did that restore? Not a lot. But it's better than nothing. Got a drink. Yeah, just tank the... tank the Dragon Maw. Okay. This tier seems interesting with something like Wild Strikes, I think. Now that I have every skibbity blocking boss dead, I can get my shadow level to max and proceed to clean up some of the side bosses like Sunflower. It's going to be nice and simple. We're going to go Golden Vow. Black Flame's Protection. We're going to get in there and Grail's Roar. I might need Iron Jar for this, actually, but we'll see. Switch to this. Two-hand this. Yeah, probably want Iron Jar. Oh, goodbye. In fact, I'm just gonna go... Well, we can just pop Iron Jar right now. Yeah. Really? That staggers me. That's crazy. That staggers me. Wow. That's surprising. All right, well, this is going to be an issue. All right, this may not be as trivial as I was making it out to seem, because I'm actually getting staggered by things. But it's still pretty trivial. And I think phase 3 is going to be the easiest. I probably should have taken that riposte, but yeah, here we are. I think phase 3 is going to be the easiest because of this burst move. Yeah. The next boss I want to target is Matir. I initially tried Carrion Sovereignty because, in all honesty, it's probably the most powerful thing in the DLC, especially now that Impenetrable Thorns has been nerfed, but you wouldn't believe it, the problem that I ran into was not having enough hyper armor. Iron Jar just wasn't cutting it. So I put Carrion Sovereignty on the back burner and I'll see if I can find a use for it later. The attack that I'll be using instead for Matir is the Martial Arts, which I know sounds kind of strange. How possibly can these martial arts have more hyper armor than Carrion Sovereignty? The answer is Palm Blast, because for whatever reason, this attack goes full Giga Chad mode and doesn't get interrupted by anything. I get this by fighting Dryleaf Dane in Shadow Altus, and now it's time to go demoralize the Mother of Fingers. Of course, always. Alright, two-hand. Palm Blast. Alright, got unlucky with the timing there. Palm Blast. Nice. Back up. Get the riposte. Get back in there. Palm Blast. Palm Blast. Palm Blast. Okay, now right here, we're gonna go drink. That misses. Okay. And when I stand up, I'm gonna have to drink. I maybe should have started winding up the Palm Blast. Yeah, just endure through that. Save myself some wake-up time. Oh, so close. Just barely ate up my poise. Alright, dude. Palm Blast is pretty cool. Palm Blast gives a crazy amount of hyper armor. Midra's up next on the chopping block, but there's a pretty large issue with Midra because he does status, and it's not just any status, it's Frenzy, which is probably the worst one for me because there's nothing that I can do to stop a Frenzy proc from staggering me. And more importantly, status procs are not reduced by damage negation. They will do the same amount of damage with the best armor in the game as they will naked. So for this kind of run, Frenzy is super threatening. With that in mind, I need to get an armor set that has good damage negation, but also has very high focus so that I can have more resistance to Frenzy. The Solitude set from the Blackjail Knight fits this description perfectly. So we're gonna have to take on the Blackjail Knight first. For this fight, I wanted to mess around with the Pizza Cutter from Volcano Manor. This really isn't a very good weapon, but I thought it would be pretty funny to use and probably at least decent against NPC fights. To build for it, I grabbed the new Infinite Endurance tier from one of the Furnace Golems, and I just go to town. Yeah, that'll do. And that will set us up to take on Midra. Oh, hold on. I also want Spiral Horn Shield. All right, Spiral Horn Shield. There it is. Spiral Horn Shield gives you extra focus. So as you can see right there, it increases our frenzy resistance even higher. I'm almost through. Yeah, I'm dead there. Although with the help of the Stake of America, I'm definitely through. Without a doubt. All right, hello. Can I get up this? Hell yeah, I can get up this. Hello. These guys are still chasing? Okay, no. Yes? No. All right, so that's how you get through that without needing to sneak or parry or have anything resembling a brain. Let's give Dancer's Blades a try. All right, we go. Oh, I drank the... I already drank the physic. I'm not supposed to drink the physic. Whoopsie. Okay, I guess we're just gonna tactically die. I mean, we could just send it, I guess. But... okay. Okay, didn't need Viridian Crystal or Hidden Tear. Dancing Blade of Rena. Alright, so we are going to Physic. Vow. Lay this down. Okay. Drink this. Switch the shield. Two-hand. Hold L2. Oh, that's not a heal. I mean, I guess it's fine. Alright, hold L2. Well, okay, I am kind of getting knocked out of some of these animations. I'm gonna drink the blue. Okay. Oh, I don't have the iron jar active anymore. Yeah, a lot of the buffs have worn off. I mean, unlikely that we're gonna get this to work on this boss. We can give Carrion Sovereignty a try on this guy. Oh, that poise broke me, huh? Just barely. So I need to reapply the Iron Jar Aromatic. I'd simply have to. But it's going to be really hard to do. Yeah. I mean, I can have like a backup Endure piece of armor on. Or I can reapply it when he's doing the phase transition. Okay. So we heal here. I'm probably going to get Madness. Yeah. Madness is obviously real problematic because it does percentage-based damage. Hey, that's pretty good. I can heal and go for it again, try to get lucky. Not going to get lucky. Hey, look at that. Double heal here. Wow. How did I hyper armor through that? So, Karen Granger's probably not going to work here. Something like a hold L2 weapon. Okay, give me the Great Stars. And then we're going to go Ashes of War, Wild Strikes. I think give it a cold affinity. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty good. This is gonna knock me over. That's fine. Need to heal. Okay, need to blue. And then I also need to get another Iron Jar off. Yeah. So the status effects are obviously helpful. I think optimally you probably don't use a hold L2 weapon on this kind of guy. I mean, like on bosses in general, doing hold L2 strats is tough because they do not have enough hyper armor. And I mean, as you can see, even with something like Iron Jar Aromatic, you do still get knocked out of things, like quite consistently. Prayerful Strike for Putrescent, I think, is a good idea because of the holy weakness. In fact, that's a great idea. I've been looking for an excuse to use Prayerful Strike, and this guy is the perfect excuse. So we're gonna take our Great Stars and put Prayerful Strike on it with the Sacred Attunement. All right, that is the Spelldrake +3. Buffing routine looks like this. Into Vow, probably into, I guess, Black Flame's Protection, why not? Okay, switch on over to this. All right. What's up, Skelly boy? I foresee hyper armor problems in the future. In fact, I might need Iron Jar Aromatic for that reason. Jesus Christ. All right, Prayerful Strike is maybe gonna suck ass because it doesn't have enough hyper armor. Hey, look, it hit him. Hey, look, it hit him. That's enough hyper armor. I just need him to stay close. Which he's not really gonna do. Okay, let me go Iron Jar again. Although it's not gonna impact this damage at all. Then just walk towards him. How's that miss, brother? That staggers? Ain't no way. That misses? Alright, there we go. Can I line up? That's gonna be too late. I was trying to line it up so that as he got close, I would hit him. There we go. Let me drink one of these. Come here. All right, that one was nice and easy. So we have Bale, Radon, and Lion. I guess it's Lion time. The right strategy for this guy is going to be Lion's Claw. I'm going to use Savage Lion's Claw. Just cuz. All right. So we do not need Iron Jar here. I'm just going to do Black Flame's Protection. We are getting our hyper armor from the attack. Wow, you can get interrupted out of the middle of it. And we do this. And then obviously I just keep on walking forward. And just hyper armor everything. Need to regen the stam. So I'm just gonna sit here for a little bit and then just take advantage of the hyper armor. And that right there is the reason why on these tanking sort of runs, hyper armor needs to get prioritized. And it's why hold L2 builds are not that strong. We can also, yes, we can get the Lion's Head. The real benefit of the Lion's Head is it has the exact same fire resist as the best fire resist helmet in the game, which is Fire Prelate. You can see the fire resist is 7.2. This is 7.2, except this has the added benefit of giving you extra stats for free. So if you're facing a boss that does a lot of fire damage, this helmet kind of bangs. Which I guess we're about to go fight Bale, so probably. Why not? Bale is obviously going to be pretty tough, but as I have been doing, I experiment with carry and sovereignty. It, of course, does not go very well. But now it's time to bust out the secret weapon that I've been hiding this whole time. It's not actually much of a secret weapon, it's much more of a gimmick. Double Endure! If you paid attention to my buffing lecture earlier, you would have heard me call both Oath of Vengeance and Endure a unique buff, which means that they stack with each other. This is kind of absurd because they both provide a massive 45% damage negation, so being able to stack these is kind of ridiculous for tanking things. The only problem is these effects last for 3 seconds and 5 seconds respectively, so pulling off a double Endure consistently is just not practical at all. But it definitely is one of the best ways to get damage negation numbers as high as possible. After messing around with double Endure for a little bit, I eventually settle into this pretty bare bone strategy where I'm just using Endure for hyper armor and the Antspur Rapier for damage since Bale is weak to pierce, and Rot does some work on him. The Antspur is from just outside of the Shaded Castle. Stop grabbing, bro. Bro's feeling grabby. Alright, let me stand up, please. Give me that leg. Give me that leg. Oh, time to get microwaved. Give me that leg. I'm not supposed to endure this. We'll see if I get punished. Yeah, a little bit. All right, let me drink. Endure again. Drink again. Oh yeah, that's looking real nice, ain't it? Still knocks me over. Don't grab me. So rude, bro. Give me that leg. Nice attack, nerd. It just misses me? What was that? Oh, the rot ran out? Come here. I get knocked over? By what? Yeah, that'll do. Can you come here, dude? Okay, that's better than I expected. I won't lie. Okay, so Oath of Vengeance takes quite a bit more blue than regular Endure. Wow. Yeah, nice damage, dude. All right, why is her direct damage so nuts? God. Oh, I drank my physic way too early. I didn't mean to drink it that early. Hello, madam.
I'm sorry for speaking to you as a compatriot.
Her sword bounces off of my skin. Hey, you know, I could try Giza's wheel. Giza's wheel has to be f***ing stupid, but I am curious. Yeah, nowhere close to enough hyper armor. Which is not surprising. That's exactly how that should go. So I think I'd like to endure with something. Maybe it's just crafted blade greatsword. All right, I mean, this strat's just obviously gonna work. However, I imagine we probably want to put Endure on something with a little bit more efficient stance damage. Is my guess. You think I won't just sit in here and tank this shit, homie? Look at me. Well, it wasn't just Melania's rune that was healing me. It was also the ow. It wasn't just Melania's rune that was healing me. It was also Great Stars. And I think the answer is Endure on the balls and then just don't miss. Ow. Now, I think I got knocked out of that.
I promise you, 1,000-year voyage guided by compassion.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, let me heal. And then let me endure and break that. Yeah, that seems to make sense. Oh, I didn't endure in time. There's got to be something that does more efficient stance damage. Well, this does really efficient stance damage. It just doesn't hit him. All right, so Bloodfiend's arm requires a respec. A pretty substantial one at that, because I need a lot of endurance. All right, strength needs to be 14, 25. All right. Oh, this doesn't have a blood attunement. All right, this is obviously not going to be good. We are missing a blood attunement. Okay, but that is good. Yeah, dude. And then I guess I take the riposte time to heal. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I had the bleed here, I'm pretty sure this just beats the shit out of him. All right, let's see if I tank this. Oh, I was close to the stagger there. We go bleed attune it, and then obviously that gets a ton more damage. And I want to mess with this iron jar idea, I guess. And if I'm messing with the iron jar idea, I can giga overload myself. This is gonna be the same. This is gonna be the same. This is gonna be the same. And in fact, I only have to do Golden Vow now, because I'm not doing Flame or Black Flame's protection. So I can do that. Oh, it really reduces my stamina bar, though, obviously. Ah. Look at the resistance, though. Oh, that misses? Ain't no way, bro.
I promise you 1,000-year voyage guided by compassion.
Yeah, I mean, the Giga equip load is questionable, to say the least. All right, let's get this stagger. And then hopefully get the riposte with it as well. All right, giving up on Iron Jar, I think. But you guys can see the stamina. Like, the stamina is a problem. All right, so we're gonna lay this down. Hello, sir. Fuck it. Toss out another iron jar. Why not? And just walk at him. Yeah, bro. Hardest part about this is walking to what I need to kill. That's how you beat Elden Ring's DLC without needing to know a damn thing about the enemy's movesets. Literally not a single thing needs to be known about them. All you need to know is the gear. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out one of the other challenge runs popping up on your screen right now.